The very first episode of Black Clover aired for the first time on October 3rd of 2017, and it has been pumping out episodes ever since. Fast forwarding to the present, this anime is unfortunately going away on March 30th of this year. I have been binging this show for the past 2 weeks since I did stop watching it around episode 60. I don't even remember the reasons behind it, but I think it was about what was it about again? Ah, I remember, because of this!
Yes, my magic allows me to manipulate blood as I...
But I'm getting ahead of myself. Apparently, after the final episode we are getting a quote-unquote series announcement, and I grew attached enough to this story to hope that the series will continue someday. I believe this is just a hiatus since the anime has pretty much caught up to the manga. And in today's video we'll be discussing about the ups and downs of Black Clover, as there are definitely good things and also not so good things to talk about. As a friendly reminder, this video contains spoilers to the entire anime, as I'll be recovering some plot points from the whole 164 episodes that aired so far as of the recording of this video. So if you're not up to date with the anime, please go watch it before continuing. I did mention earlier I grew attached to the story, and the reasons are pretty straightforward. Black Clover is an extensive anime due to the number of episodes, hence the substantial amount of content about the world, the lore, and every single character that makes an appearance. In a world where magic is omnipresent, two newborns by the name of Yuno and Asta were abandoned in front of a small chapel. They would grow into two fine young lads, and between them a rivalry would grow as they would strive to become the next Wizard King. However, one of them would never be able to wield any magic. Asta would struggle for years and years, working hard and praying for the day magic would finally flow through his body, while Yuno, well, he would have this extraordinary gift to magic and later on become the next prodigy with the possession of the infamous four-leaf grimoire. The notions of discrimination, poverty and prejudice are introduced straight away, giving a form of entity to the world based upon the amount of mana from each individual as well as their social status. At least in the Clover Kingdom. There are other kingdoms and each has their own set of rules. I found really interesting the way the story took its path, despite how cliché the antagonists could be. The overall character progression of both Asta and Yuno was a bit of a mystery, at least in the first 30-ish episodes. We are fully aware that Yuno, being very talented, would end up joining the most powerful clan, aka the Golden Dawn clan. But I was not expecting Asta to even be accepted by any clan, considering he didn't wield any magic, where magic was everything in his world. Asta is constantly dragged down, with people doubting his capabilities despite receiving a grimoire. Which, by the way, a 5-leaf grimoire with the devil residing in it. Nevertheless, through pure sheer will and hard work, he's able to get into the Black Bulls clan, and damn, I was not expecting how much fun the relationship between Asta and the other Black Bull members would be to watch. One thing this anime does right is the diversity of the characters, despite not being anything we haven't seen yet. Not only is the character's background fully explained with constant flashbacks and illustrations, but there is also a big sense of character development for every single person in the story, from the main ones to the secondary ones, and Black Clover perfectly balances the character's personal story while connecting their own personal growth. Looking at the Black Bulls members, they are boring individually, but the most interesting aspect about them is their value and interactions as a group. The quirkiness of every individual is something unique and worth the praise, as they bring a lot of comedy moments to the show. The ability to introduce a large number of characters without being underwhelming is well made, as each member of the cast has a distinct personality, making this show interesting enough to watch. Like I mentioned before, there's a hierarchical system that is put into place in the world of Black Clover, and the Magic Knights is no exception. Even between members of royalty, some stand above others, and this is made apparent in the Silva family, for instance. Noelle is thrown at the worst clan of the Magic Knights at the beginning simply because she can't control her magic, despite being one of royalty. And yes, I know, according to Nozzle, she was ultimately ridiculed by her own siblings pretty much her entire life and was told how shit she was, but it was I guess just for her own safety. God, does that even make any sense? The poor girl had self-esteem issues, and her family was so focused on greatness and their image overall that they thought it was best to just get rid of her. Hopefully she did prove to be very capable with her mana, and that scene where she completely destroyed one of her own siblings in a match, God, that felt really good, not gonna lie. Anyways, Magic Knights have different ranks, from the rookies, also known as the Junior Magic Knights, all the way to the Magic Emperor himself, or the Wizard King. And within these ranks, there are all sorts of rivalries between members. Despite how mighty every captain looked and sounded in the beginning, we quickly realize how much shit they throw at each other, while being as competitive as possible, serving as the main focal point to their relationship development down the road. Especially Yami. The dude is always looking to surpass his own limits, pretty much like Goku. Despite the overall douchey personality of Nozel, for example, I actually enjoyed his character development the most, as he slowly accepts his younger sister's powers and learns to accept her own personal growth as a magic knight. Not only Nozel, but many others also learn to appreciate people from all kinds of social backgrounds and attempt at bringing more social justice. And those battles throughout the story serve as the main gear to achieve that ideal. And where do Asta and Yuno fit into all of this? Well, Asta went to the Black Balls, and with his anti-magic abilities he was able to slowly but surely pull through the different hardships, and with a lot of work, him and Yuno became known as the promising duo from a peasant background. Yuno, despite being a main character, he does, however, not have much screen time as Asta, even though he makes full appearances in the important battles by fully complete his role as a proper hero. What is interesting about this show in regard to the importance of characters is that every member has a role to play. Even Mr. Baha, for example. God, that dude is so annoying. Anyways, I'm sorry. Despite the interesting backgrounds, the overall quality of this story left a bit to be desired. The main critique I have to mention is the lack of originality. No wonder, since it is, well, a shonen anime, and the elements that comprises this genre are pretty much present throughout the story. I did say I dropped this show before, and there were some reasons behind it. First and foremost, we have to talk about the animation inconsistency. I felt like some episodes had really neat animation, while other episodes felt really rushed with wacky drawings and even some poor CGI design that didn't really blend within the scenes. The amount of episodes that were introduced, reminiscing on past events, serving merely to remind the viewers of what had happened before, was, in my opinion, unnecessary since the show did not take any breaks. Even the annoying voice of Asta in the beginning was really annoying despite the fact they tuned it down a little bit afterwards. However, the most disappointing aspect of it is Yuno's own character development. Despite his appearance in the important moments of the story, Yuno did not change too much. And his character isn't that complex and interesting to begin with. He's a prodigy who just says... I mean, the dude never talks or barely talks to that matter, and his personality screams generic, boring, and cliche, fitting perfectly as the quiet and yet powerful kid in the cast like you see in other shonen anime. The fact that the show has been airing for 3 years without any breaks does justify the inconsistent animation, and I can understand that. But some aspects I previously mentioned are an issue in its core, and they couldn't easily be corrected, hence the reason I had dropped it previously. However, you may be asking as to why I did still come back. Well, because a friend of mine convinced me to, and so I gave it a second try. And I have to say, I was surprised by how the animation quality slowly improved, despite how unoriginal the story still remained. Even though I'm actually enjoying the last few fights we have seen recently between the Devils and the Magic Knights, one thing I'm happy about is the general story pacing that never really slowed down. Unlike other shonen, where some fillers serve merely as side stories without any purposeful meaning, Black Clover has always been able to gradually escalate its level of importance, one tale after the other, giving meaning behind its story that would serve its purpose for the arc's climax. If you look at Asta and Yuno's power scaling, we can clearly say that despite the constant breaking of their limits, the boosts that they get aren't as crazy as some other shonen anime, and it pays off since it gives a sense of proper meaning meaning behind the characters whilst evading that plot armor that most main characters fall into very quickly. Nevertheless, we know that Asta and Yuno are bound to beat the bad guys at the end of the day. Their sense of progression does seem to be meaningful, which I'm grateful for as it leaves that flair of intrigue for what is going to happen next. All in all, Black Clover does have its own issues, but at the end of the day it is an interesting story and there are positive things that we can take from this anime. It is definitely a show for shonen fans, and if you dislike the shonen genre for some reason, well, this anime, it won't change your opinion. I believe shonen anime is meant to be enjoyed by its emotion-driven fights between the hero saving his friends against evil, and there's nothing wrong with that. For what it is, Black Clover did its job, and I'm sincerely hoping for a continuation of the series in the future, and I'll be sure to cover that in future videos as well. And with this, guys, my final verdict for Black Clover the anime will be a score of 7 out of 10. And that'll be it for today's video, guys. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you enjoyed it. Please check out my Twitter page as well as my Discord server if you wish to have interesting discussions related to anime with other dudes. Thank you so much for watching, and as usual, don't forget to watch your daily dose of anime because it's good for your brain and heart. Take care, and I'll see all my beloved weebs in the next video.